Hey everybody, my name is Claire, and this is how I went about creating a small mural for Hulbert Library of the town of Concord in Springville. They created a new outdoor space in front of the entrance to the library with a bunch of seating and really cool details like solar umbrellas that can charge phones, a kid stage, outdoor games, and lovely landscaping. They wanted a sign that would make everyone feel welcome to use the space and express gratitude to everyone who made the project possible. This is how it looks today. They turned what was previously pretty unusable space into this great communal area. They wanted to make use of the spot on the back of the main library sign. They really liked the idea of having a tree as the central element of the sign. Next, I started sketching in Procreate. So Springville is a small village surrounded by farmland and hills. It's very community-centered. It has a ton of great old houses and a historic main street with a bunch of small businesses. It's the kind of place where you can walk almost anywhere. I wanted to communicate that with some of the designs with sweeping hills and people walking. I also tried to just go further than the first things that came to my mind. They ended up choosing the symmetrical large tree right there in the middle, so I took that and made some variations of that design to give them more choices. But of course I shouldn't have made them monochrome green because they thought that those were the colors I was suggesting for the final version, which is fair. So lesson learned there, I should have stuck with black and white. Next, I started to take the one that we decided on, refine it, and figure out what colors I wanted to use. At first, it was really bad. The library board suggested adding the town in the background around the tree for that sense of community. But then I was really struggling with getting the tree's foliage right. I used a few pieces of other artists' work as inspiration for texture and colors. Then finally, I realized the tree needed branches. A note on symmetry, I wouldn't have normally chosen to be completely symmetrical since it has no sense of story or it's not very dynamic, but considering this was supposed to be a text-based sign, I thought the staticness worked. Later, I realized that I hadn't actually measured the sign, so I had the aspect ratio wrong. Then I went about adding some additional text. They wanted a line at the top. The design originally was actually supposed to be printed, but I offered to paint it. I thought it would just look better if it was actually hand painted. Next, I started working on the color palette. I ended up getting sample sizes since it was such a small space. I color picked from the design in Procreate and decided what colors I would need to mix. I ended up, of course, landing on primaries with the addition of a teal, a viridian color, an avocado green since there was so much of it, and a sepia and a cream. And then when I actually went to get the paint, I changed my mind and also got a ochre color since I don't feel like you can mix that very well, or at least I can't. And then I got deeper blue rather than the cerulean. I don't know if I would recommend working this way, color picking in Procreate, to choosing real paint colors. Usually I'm used to going from traditional media to then a mural. And then I know exactly what colors I used. My design ended up looking a lot cooler than the original one that I made. I don't know if that's part of the reason why, or maybe it was just the way I was mixing. But it doesn't have to be exact. So then I made the drive out there. It's about 45 minutes for me, and I primed it. I ended up doing that because I didn't want that darker green poking through, and then I made a yellowy pink ground if I wanted to leave some poking through, but I didn't end up leaving any, so I didn't need to do that. Later that night, I used a tiny projector to trace out the design besides the lettering because I left that for last. I didn't want to have to worry about painting around all those letters. The next morning, it was time to start painting. When I started adding the leaves, I had a little bit of a crisis because they weren't looking how I wanted them to. It was just very busy, and it was not working for me. I actually stopped recording because I was freaking out and felt like I wasn't going to be able to do this. Now, I have done large scale projects before. This is Space Cats, which is also in Springville, and I painted this while I was working at Springville Center for the Arts. It was based around how everyone was feeling during COVID, and I think that I do this kind of panic thing every time I paint something, no matter how small it is. I start to lose confidence that it's going to be okay. So this sign definitely had a really long, ugly stage, but then I had a breakthrough. I realized that I had gotten this tool, this trim edger. I'll put a picture of it. I was able to use it to do the sweeping motion that I wanted to instead of like tight brushwork. Even though I had been using this huge chip brush, it just wasn't giving me like a good texture. So I started making that soft blended look. But then that night, how it looked right after I added the trunk was burned into my brain while I was trying to sleep because it was just so ugly. So I actually took a bunch of images of my design versus like how it was looking in real life, put them next to each other and color picked so I could see the differences in how it was looking. Mural painting is wild because colors look so different, like depending on how sunny it is, how cloudy it is, whether it's wet versus when it's dry, what the color is next to. So anyway, I realized that my original design was a lot earthier. So the next morning I went and added some deeper, warmer tones to the foliage with that same tool, and I think I repainted a few of the houses. The next weekend I came back out and did the lettering. I was happy with the lettering, except when I realized that the space between the B and built was so much closer to the swoop than the Y in community in that top line. That's the way it was in my design, and I just never noticed because it's all like topsy-turvy, wonky anyway. So that was really bothering me, and I ended up coming back again and repainting over the end of the swoosh and extending it so it would look more symmetrical. In the end, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It definitely had a long, ugly stage, but I think I'm learning that that's just how it goes. I'm actually very happy with it now. It all paid off in the end. If you'd like to see it in person, it is in Springville, New York, at the Halbert Library of the town of Concord, and you can enjoy their beautiful new outdoor space while you're there and take a stroll down historic Main Street.